All right. Hey everybody. I was having a little bit of a streaming problem. It wasn't like starting, but I think we're working now. And it's, about 8 minutes late. I apologize for that. Today, what I want to do is show you my embroidered sleeve. And you can see that I embroidered the entire sleeve. And it's hard for me to tell if you can see all of the tone-on-tone embroidery. What I'm going to do is I wanted to put it on to show you how an all-around embroidered sleeve would look. Okay, so you can see. And then what I'll do is I'll take it off and I'll show you on the table. And I think you'll be able to get a little bit better of a table shot, seeing from my, from the table. So I just embroidered one sleeve because it took a very long time, plus I was playing with it, and I wanted to see how it would feel once it was sewn together and embroidered. So I can tell you it's a little, the embroidery pulls it in a little bit, and I cut out my sleeve before I embroidered. All right, hold on one second. Hi, Andrea. Hi, Anne. Hi, Janie. Thanks for joining me. I'm sporting my embroidered statement sleeve. So rule number one, when you're embroidering a garment, especially if it's a knit, sometimes it's better to trace your sleeve. Let's say if you want to embroider your sleeve, trace your sleeve onto the fabric so you can get an idea of the shape of the your pattern piece that you're going to embroider on it, and then lay the pattern piece back on the fabric and cut it out, because this was drawn in a little bit when I embroidered on it. I can clearly wear it. It's not uncomfortable, but it is a little bit, the embroidery does take it in a little bit. And I think if I had embroidered and then cut it out, that would have worked much better. So that's going to be my tip for today. When you're embroidering on knits, definitely embroider first. Trace around the edge of the pattern piece, embroider first, and then, let's see here. Oh, hi ladies. I had my setting on participants and I couldn't see comments. Good morning, everybody. Andrea. Hi, Diane, PG. Thank you guys for joining me. It's amazing how long it takes me to look at what I'm embroidering, decide where I want to put the next embroidery, decide on the color, decide on the placement. It just took a very long time. So don't be shocked, I have a tank top on under here. I'm going to take this off, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you on the table how it looks now. I'm just going to put this on. It's a little bit nippy today. It's a cool, rainy day in Connecticut. Let me just stick this on. Okay. All right, so let me show you what this looks like on the table, and I think I can blow it out so you can see the detail of the embroidery a little bit better. All right, so let me just switch my view. Okay, and then let me just make it a little bit brighter so you can see. All right, let's go with that for now. All right, so I decided to just embroider all over the sleeve. And I did some of my, some of the embroidery I did. Here's the free design that I worked on last week. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, Anne says she's working on a skirt using The embroidery designs. Oh, that's cool, Anne. I would love to see how that looks when you get that done. If you need any help, please let me know. I don't know if you can see the cutout embroidery design is here, and then I also did a larger one. Can you guys see right here? So this, I think creating a really busy sleeve is a cool way to go, because it's pulling the attention away from my bust and my tummy, actually. So I think, I think I'm really kind of excited about this whole embroidered sleeve idea. I think what I'm going to do is, I wonder if I can take it out quickly. Hold on one second. I really wanted to sew it together to show you how it looked on my arm, but I'd also like to show you how it looks flat. Let me see if I can just quickly take this out. Let me go this way. I think I've showed this a lot, a few times in the past. If you pull your needle threads, the stitching should come out pretty easily. Let me see if I can just quickly take this out so I can show you flat. The other thing I'm going to be working on is, you may have remembered, I was working on a bathrobe for my mom, and she has worn the knit version that I made her to death. But what I did to make that pattern was I basically took apart her favorite bathrobe, I traced it and made a pattern. So what I'm going to do now is, as soon as I get this apart so I can show you how the sleeve looks flat, I'm going to show you the pattern pieces. I traced them because when I was working on this pattern initially, I actually used my dad's antique, and when I say antique, I mean antique, craft paper to make the pattern. And it's all cracked and broken now. I'll show you my original traced copy, but I want to trace it, and I want to create a center back seam, because my mom has a high round curve to her back, and the original bathrobe I made was on the fold, so when she wears it, it picks up on the back of her neck, and she doesn't care, but I do. I think it'll look much nicer if I create a center back seam and then also add some shaping to that back neckline. All right, so if you've never tried this technique, if you pull your needle thread, then the whole stitch slides out. So see, I broke the two needle threads, and if I just pull now, see how it just comes out all in one piece. So I've already taken out this much. Okay, so so now that I'm here, what I'll do is I'll tease it around again and find the rest of the needle threads. All right, let me just see here. All right, so I'm just gonna keep pulling at my needle thread so I can take this apart so I can show you. Now I threw the sleeve in the wash one time. I think it needs to go in again, and I'll show you that when I get it apart. I'm almost done. I should have just sewed it together with a 3 thread, and then I would have just had one needle thread to pull out. Just see here. All right, I'm sorry. See, is this a needle thread? Okay, I found another needle thread. So I'm just petting the fabric along the thread, and it comes out pretty easy. I think I should be able to get this one all the way out. I feel silly now. I probably should have just showed this to you flat. Oh, all right, here we go. Okay, let me see. All right. See how fast? Boom, all out. All right, let me show it to you flat now so you can see. Okay, so here's what the sleeve looks like flat. And basically what I did was I just embroidered the whole sleeve. There's very little fabric on the sleeve that's not embroidered. So I'm gonna finish sewing it, add a neckline, and then I'm going to, you know, I'll model it again. But you can see here on the back, this is what it looks like. I wanted to try a few different things. I tried using the embroidery thread for the bobbin, and that actually made it nice and soft. So I kind of like that. And then when I was doing the cutaway design that I gave away for free last week, I used paper stabilizer, and I pulled most of it away. I think with another washing, it will get rid of all of the remnants of the stabilizer. So all of these were used with the aqua mesh that washed away mostly, but I can still feel it a little bit under some of the bobbin thread. So I'm definitely going to wash it again. One thing that makes it harder to wash away is if you use an adhesive spray to adhere it to the stabilizer. That makes it a little bit more stubborn, but a couple washes will get rid of it. So you can see, even with all that embroidery, it's still pretty stretchy. I mean, it's not as stretchy as it was, obviously, without embroidery, but I'm pretty happy with the way this is coming out. Okay, and again, here's how it looks. I really like having the 3D effect of some of these cutaway designs layered on top of or next to the flat open floral pattern. So that's what I wanted to share with you there. If anybody has any questions about, you know, about how to do this or, you know, whatever, please let me know. But for now, I'm going to put this away. And I'm going to, first let me show you. This was the original tracing I did for my mom's bathrobe. And you can see it's really, this paper was antique when I started using it, but you can see that it has almost, you know, the edges got torn, and it's like almost disintegrating. So I traced a copy, and what I want to do now is just show you a few things about this pattern. Okay, so here's my pattern. Pretty good size pattern. This is the front. Okay, I'm not going to do anything with that at the moment, so I'm going to put it aside. Okay, what I want to work on here is the back. Okay, now you can see from the back that this is just like a standard back. It's got a straight edge, center back edge that I actually cut on the fold the first time. So what I want to do now is I want to create a high round curve, because on my mom, when she's wearing this, it sticks up in the back because she's got a curve to her back, and I didn't make room for it, so it hangs kind of funny off the back of her neck. So what I'm going to do is I am going to create my guidelines to do a high round back. So I'm just going to put them right here. I'm going to do 4 slashes because I want to create a nice curve here. All right, and then I'm going to slash through, and I'm going to actually cut off this piece of paper because I'll use this to fill in the slashes. I'm going to cut them all at once. Then I'm going to put my paper underneath here like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, actually, let me just get another roll of Scotch tape. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to anchor the bottom cut edge Hi ladies, thank you for joining me. Oh, someone from the Netherlands. I'm not even going to try to pronounce your name. Yada. Thank you for joining. That's exciting. All right. If you're just joining me, I showed my embroidered statement sleeve at the beginning, so if you could go back and check that out. And now I'm working on my mom's bathrobe pattern. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to anchor this to hold it. And then what I can do is I can kind of play with the shape of this. I know I probably want to add a little more than an inch total, maybe an inch and a, inch and 3/8. So I'm going to control the spread, but I'm also going to just try to simultaneously spread them all. Because I really don't care if they're not exactly spread the exact amount. I just want to create a curve here. Okay, so see what I did was I just basically did this in one step. Okay, and this is going to create the room that we need on that, on the upper center back. Oops. All right, so let me just tape this down. I'm sorry, I went rock climbing with my daughter this morning, and I'm very thirsty. All right. All right. So there is the high round back adjustment. And what this does is it creates, not only does it create a curve seam, but it also brings the base of the neckline up so it sits back at the, at the base of your neck. Because if you have a curve in your upper back, you need a little bit more length here. So that was the first thing I wanted to do, was create more room there. Then what I want to do is, obviously I have to add a center back seam now. And I hope I think I left just enough room. So I'm going to do 3/8 of an inch because I'm going to sew this on my serger. This pattern is going to be made for like stable knits. I have a really pretty waffle knit I'm going to use to make another, you know, make a new version for her. And I think really this is going to be, yeah, see this is, I trimmed this exactly 3/8 of an inch by accident. All right, I can get rid of some of this here. All right. Okay, I can cut that later. What I want to do now is I want to look at my armhole. So I'm just going to get rid of this extra fabric, extra paper. And then I'm going to get my front up here. And I want to just look at the armhole and maybe make some changes to it, the shape of it a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark my seam allowance. I'll do that in pencil here. Okay, and then I'm going to mark the seam allowance on this one as well. This is the front. All right, I'm going to fold the front down on the line. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape it together on the stitching line. Okay, and I can see that I have a little bit of a discrepancy here on my length. I just traced these pretty quickly, so it may be that I didn't do like a perfect tracing job here. Let me put pattern weight there. So you can see it's a little bit right here. I'm just gonna fix that like that. Okay. Now, my shape of my armhole is pretty, it's got a nice curved shape. Okay, this is the back, and this is the front. So I just wanted to make sure that it did create a nice curved, a nice C shape, which you can see. Then what I'm going to do, because I'm happy with that, I just wanted to make sure everything was nice and trued up. So my shoulder seam is trued up. I am going to make this change right here to the neckline. Then what I'm going to do is I want to check my side seams. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to match them up at the top here. This is why I use Sharpie markers so I could see through. Okay, so I'm just checking to make sure they're the same length. And they are almost exactly the same length. The other one ends, I'm going to use my tracing wheel here. Just going to mark a middle of the road here. All right, so this one is going to have to end here, just a little bit shorter. So my final answer, I'll do it in blue, is going to be here. Okay, and so this is right. All right, so now I know my side seams match. All right, so other than adding the center back seam in the back, I'm happy with it. The shape of it and the ease of it was fine. So I'm gonna put that down. Now in the front, what I've noticed is that from under the arm going towards the back and the front, my mom needed a little extra room. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a little extra room by, I'm going to draw at the base of the armhole and then coming down to the hem like this. I am going to add a little bit of room. So I'm going to slash, what do I do with my, I'm going to slash the pattern on this line. I'm going to create a hinge here. And I'm just going to open this up a little bit. I don't need a lot, but I just felt like her front needed a little bit more room so it would stay, it was kind of opening up. It's almost like I'm creating a little bit more ease. So when it's buttoned shut, it stays shut at the bottom. So I'm going to just add, let's see, I am just going to add an inch. So that'll be an inch on each side. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. Okay. All right, let's see. All right. This is a really long slash, so I'm just gonna keep filling it in with these scraps of paper. This will almost fill up the rest, fill in the rest of it. I don't know if you can hear that. I don't know if my microphone is picking it up, but it is pouring rain here. Okay. All right. All right, so I can finish filling that part in later, but that's going to just give me a little bit more ease in the front that I thought it needed. I'll just true this up like that. Now the last thing I want to look at is at the very top here. This is the front neckline, and when it's buttoned, this part right here is the part that overlaps and buttons, and it makes like this little notch here, you know, so it's almost like a little, you know, notch in the neckline. So that worked out to be pretty nice, but I think what I'd also like to do is make that overlap a little bit bigger. So I'm going to extend it from the 3/4 of an inch that it is to an inch. So basically I'm going to add a 1/4 inch down this entire edge, just so I have a little bit more overlap for buttons, because my mom has Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and she can do really well with buttons when they're a good size. So the buttons on her current bathrobe are probably 1 1/4 inches. So I want to make sure I have room for some nice, easy to button buttons. The other thing about this bathrobe that's nice is it has a nice deep armhole, so it's easy to get it on and off. That was the other thing that I was considering when I was making the pattern initially. All right, so I've added this 1/4 inch I wanted here. Okay. All right, so now the other thing that happened to this pattern, because I used my dad's antique paper that was in the basement is the facing pieces got completely demolished. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how to draft facing pieces right on your pattern, and then I can trace them off, and I will have that those pattern pieces. So I'm just going to stick one more piece of paper under here so it's completely stuck together. All right, so let me just finish taping this. All right, that's good. Okay, so I want a facing that, one second. I want a facing that finishes the neckline edge, this little notch. Oops. Okay, so I want my facing to finish the neckline edge, this little notch here, and then the whole center front to create a button placket. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw it in pencil first. Actually, let's look at the back first. All right, so I'm going to use a facing to finish the back neckline as well. And I'm going to create one of those facings that creates sort of a circular shape at the back. And then I'm going to top stitch it down. So there'll be like a circular top stitched shape on the back of the bathrobe. Okay, let me just answer. I think it's Yada. If I'm not pronouncing your name right, I'm so sorry. She says the front armhole looks a lot bigger than the back. Will the sleeve be balanced? Well, it did hang nicely. If you follow me on Instagram, J Stern Designs on Instagram, I actually put a picture of my mom. Let me just see. Hold on. Let's see. I think I can find the picture. Oops. All right, so here's my mom wearing the bathrobe. I think you can see, I mean, the arm does hang nicely, but we can check that. Let me just see here. Okay, okay, so here's my front. And let me just mark the seam allowance on the side is right here. So this measures, if I were to measure this at approximately 3/8 of an inch away from the edge, this measures 11 inches. And the back measures, oh, I see what you mean. I think it is. The back measures, actually the back measures almost 11 inches. They're almost exactly the same. So you know what I'll do? Thank you for pointing that out to me. You know what I'll do? I'm going to add make the back a little bit longer. I'm just going to cut on my seam line here. And I'll pivot that out a little bit just to make it so it's maybe a 1/4 inch longer. I'll just go like this. You see that? Yeah, I'm going to do that. And we'll check the sleeve after to make sure it's it, you know, we'll see if we need to adjust the sleeve, but this is adding this much, okay? And then let me just match it to the front one more time. All right, so it still has a nice transition front to back, you know, adding that. All right, so I think that's good. Thank you for pointing that out. As soon as I create the facing pieces, we will check the sleeve and see if we have to adjust that. All right. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'll use a different color. I want to create a, you know, this shaped facing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to measure 3 inches from the neckline edge right here. So that's where the facing is going to start. And I'm just going to have it come down and kind of create, you know, sort of a round shape like this. And I'm going to make it perpendicular to the center back there. And then I'll just sort of, you know, fill it in like this. All right, so this is going to be the shape of my back facing. Okay. And there is a little bit of a curve here, but I'm going to use a stable knit. So I'm going to create a facing piece that is cut out on the fold. So let me trace this and show you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to trace it, the seam allowance. Here's the shape. Here's the shoulder. Here's the back neckline. Okay, and then I have a seam allowance here. I'm going to cut it there. And I also have my seam allowance here. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is, because I'm going to be working with a stable knit, I can get rid of that little bit of I'm going to just, oops, wait, no, right here, I'm sorry, the cutting line. I am going to put it on the fold right here, and I'm going to be losing this little curved part. Okay, this part right here. But because it'll stretch, I think that'll be okay to have it be the facing. It won't pull it in, but it won't gap away either. It's just a tiny little bit. So this is going to be my final back facing. Like this. Okay, and then so I'm just going to label back facing. Okay, on fold. Okay, so that takes care of that piece. Now in the front, what we're going to do is we're going to start with that 3 inches, because I'm going to sew the facings together at the shoulder, so it needs to match at the shoulder. So I'm going to measure 3 inches, and I just have to, this is now this is my new neckline right here. All right, and I'm going to measure 3 inches in from there. Okay, so that's going to be the start of my front facing. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my ruler and I'm going to dash in, you know, at 3 inches. And then when I get over here, I'm going to have 3 inches as well. So I think that this is going to kind of now go like this to make a curve. And then this is just going to be 3 inches all the way down. So I'm just marking it 3 inches all the way down. Okay. All right, so this is going to be my facing piece. So I'm going to trace, you know, this whole area all the way down to create the front facing. And then I'll have that, and I can trace that off camera. You know that I'm just going to pin it on and trace it. Let's check the sleeve with the armhole now that I adjusted the back armhole to be a little bit longer. Just put a little more tape here. Just want to make sure this doesn't come untaped. Okay. All right, so here's my sleeve. I'm just going to cut off this extra paper here. Oh, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to make sure my underarm seam matches, and it does, so I can cut it and cut off the extra like that. All right, and then what I'm going to do is let's walk it. Okay, and I want to walk my sleeve on the stitching line, so I'm just going to draw on here. This is the shoulder seam allowance. I'm just going to mark my stitching line on my armhole here, because you know it's a little bit longer than the actual edge of the pattern piece because the curve gets bigger. Okay, so I've got that. Then I'm going to mark the stitching line on my actual pattern too. And then, all right, so let's start in the back. This is my back. I am going to walk the sleeve matching up my edges, and I'm going to walk it right on the stitching line. Oops, I'm getting, let me just drag it over here a little bit. Okay, so now my back ends right here. This is where the seam is for my back now. And I'll just put a B there. Okay. Now let's check the front. Oh, and before I do that, I just have to mark my my allowances. Okay, and then here's the shoulder seam. All right, so I'm going to take my front, and I'm going to line it right up with the front, and I'm going to walk it right on the stitching line. All right, so my front ends right here, front. So really, the back was a little bit longer. Here's the front. So my notch, my shoulder notch is going to be right here. Okay. Which, considering they're almost the same length, it makes sense that that's going to kind of be in the middle there. This is a completely not, you know, it's a loose, comfy fitting bathrobe. All right, so I'm happy with the sleeve. I think I may add a little bit of length to the sleeve to make it a little bit longer. It's a 3/4 length sleeve now. I think because we're going into winter, I'll make it a little bit longer, but I can do that off camera. All right, so the other piece I have, and it's really, I don't think I need to change it, but I'll just show you. On the front, I also had a patch pocket that looked like this. Okay, and I think I'll just keep with the patch pocket, you know, so she can put her tissues in there and whatever. All right, so that updates my my mom's bathrobe pattern. What I plan to do is, going forward, I'm going to neaten this up, you know, make a neat copy of it. I'm going to have it scanned in, I'm going to grade it, and I'm going to make it into a pattern to add to my collection. And then in November, I'm going to have a bathrobe sew along, because I think this would make a wonderful gift for, you know, I'm sure you must have someone on your list who can use a comfy, cozy bathrobe. In the coming weeks, I'll show you what my fabric choice is going to be. I'm going to use some of that waffle knit that, you know, it's not super stretchy, but it's got nice soft drape and it's got some give to it to make my mom's next bathrobe. And I will go over everything, including, you know, picking a size, cutting it out, some simple pattern adjustments if people need them. I'm going to produce this pattern with the high round back included, but on the pattern sheet I will have them print. I will actually have where I made the adjustment printed on the pattern, and if you don't need a high round adjustment, then you'll just slice the pattern on those guidelines and shut them and create a straight center back seam. But I really want to make this a bathrobe that's ready to go for someone who needs a high round back and needs a pretty generous armhole to get easy in and out. Okay, so I'm going to call it my mom's bathrobe pattern. This is a project that's kind of near and dear to my heart because you know, I know that, like, my mom really likes to be comfortable if she doesn't have a doctor's appointment or something, and she spends a lot of time wearing this bathrobe, so I feel like she needs more than one. So that's part of the reason why I'm going to start working on a second one. You know, but also I thought I would make it into a pattern, so if you know someone who needs a comfy, nice bathrobe, this will be really easy to sew together, and then you'll also have all of the tutorials to show you how to construct it and finish it, because I will put those instructions, you know, I'll have a sew along and I'll put it in a playlist so you can easily find it. As a side note, I am teaching a live class on Wednesday next week on patternreview.com. It's going to be how to embroider buttonholes using your embroidery machine. I will put a link to that class in the description below this if you want to check that out. It's at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time next Wednesday, which is, I believe, the 21st. Let me just verify that for you. Yes, the 21st. And I think I'm going to be embroidering decorative buttonholes on this bathrobe to give it a little extra pretty touch, a little detail. So, you know, you can see that, or, you know, I'll share that with you later as well, I guess, in the sew along. But if you're interested in learning how to embroider buttonholes, you know, check that out. Another thing I'm going to be teaching is a few classes for Stitches at Home, November 7, 8, and 9. So if you're thinking about dusting off your serger and sort of having a refresher course, I'm teaching 2 serger classes and also a fit and sew t-shirt class. So we'll spend one class fitting and cutting out, and then the second class sewing a t-shirt or tunic. So I'm also teaching those classes, and I will put a link to those in the description below as well. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any suggestions for projects, or if you're working on a project and you need help, please post your comments below or your questions below, and I will help you. I'm still without a Facebook group because my Facebook account was hacked and it has not been fixed yet. We're going on 6 weeks now, so I apologize to everybody for that. But you know, if you're watching this and you have a question, you can post it here and I will help you. My email is also in the comments. If you want to email me with a question or comment, you can do that as well. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I will finish my raglan sleeve top with the embroidered sleeve, and then maybe I'll wear it for the entire video on Tuesday for Fit Tip Tuesday. But anyway, I hope you guys are all safe and sound. If you're new to this channel, thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing to my channel and clicking the little bell so you'll get notifications every time I post something new. And I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you next week for more sewing fun.